Throughout the history of the NHL, we've seen some massive trades where fan favorites and franchise superstars have been dealt in a very unexpected manner. Now, not all of these blockbuster deals have gone south, but there have been quite a few where they turn out to be completely one-sided, negatively impacting a team for years to come. Keeping that in mind, here are the 7 worst trades in NHL history. The Montreal Canadiens trade Patrick Roy. Now, this may be the most obvious one when you think of the worst NHL trades to ever happen, so we might as well get it out of the way right off the top of this video. On December 6, 1995, the Canadiens traded Patrick Roy to the first-year Colorado Avalanche along with captain Mike Keane in exchange for Andrei Kovalenko, Martin Ruchinski, and Jocelyn Thibault. While it's painfully obvious today that this trade turned out to be terrible for Montreal, there was still some minor upsides to the players Montreal was acquiring. And at first, the Habs seemed to get along decently without Patrick Roy. However, the Canadiens essentially traded their franchise player along with their captain. In retrospect, it did not matter what the team got in exchange for that. Canadiens fans had already felt betrayed. In Colorado, with Roy in net, the Avalanche became immediate Stanley Cup contenders. They won the Cup in '96 and then again in 2001. The Canadiens, on the other hand, well, they lost their Stanley Cup winning ways and went into a downward spiral that lasted for many, many years to come. The Winnipeg Jets trade Teemu Selanne. On February 7, 1996, the Anaheim Ducks sent Chad Kilger, Oleg Tverdovsky, and a third-round pick in the 1996 NHL entry draft to the Winnipeg Jets in exchange for Teemu Selanne, the rights to Mark Chouinard, and a fourth-round pick in the '96 draft. He could not have known this at that time, but former GM of the Anaheim Ducks, Jack Ferreira, made one of the most franchise-altering acquisitions in NHL history. In his 966 games played with the franchise, Selanne recorded a whopping 457 goals and 531 assists. Before being traded to the Ducks, Selanne was already showing signs of being a dominant player with the Jets. In 231 games played with Winnipeg, he managed to score 147 and dished out 159 assists. In 1996, Selanne was having an impressive season with the Jets before being traded. In 51 games played, he scored 24 goals and 48 assists. Once he was traded to Anaheim, Selanne continued his great season, scoring 16 more times and adding 20 more assists. For Winnipeg, well, the franchise turned into the Phoenix Coyotes, and Kilger only played in 34 games over 2 seasons there, recording 4 goals and 4 assists. Kilger would go on to bounce around from organization to organization like Chicago, Edmonton, Montreal, and Toronto until his career came to an end in 2008. As for Tverdovsky, he was not put out on the ice for his offensive touch, but he did demonstrate a decent playmaking ability. In the 1997-98 regular season, he recorded a career-high 55 points with Phoenix. He would reach the 50-point mark 2 more times in his career, ironically with Anaheim. Now, it is painfully obvious here this trade is extremely one-sided. Anaheim won this deal, no questions asked. No one else in this deal had the impact Selanne had in Anaheim. Although he spent a few seasons away from the Ducks organization, he was the face of the franchise for so many years and still is to a certain extent. So when you acquire arguably the greatest Duck of all time, you definitely won that deal. The Vancouver Canucks trade Cam Neely. In his first 3 seasons, Cam Neely scored 51 goals and had also earned over 300 penalty minutes. The Canucks then packaged Neely and a first-round draft pick, who turned out to be defenseman Glenn Wesley, to the Bruins for centerman Barry Pettersson. Neely played the rest of his career in Boston, playing 10 seasons and racking up 344 goals and 246 assists in 525 games played. He was one of the league's most feared power forwards. He had a mix of pure strength and high-level skill. If he didn't beat you with his goal-scoring ability, he would beat you with his fists. He hit the 50-goal mark 3 times and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005. After being traded to the Canucks, Barry Pettersson's career quickly fizzled. He only hit the 20-goal mark once with the Canucks and bounced around the NHL, playing for several teams and never coming close to the level of production Cam Neely brought to the table. The New York Islanders trade Zdeno Chara. In June of 2001, the New York Islanders made a disastrous deal. Zdeno Chara had yet to pan out with the Islanders and was traded to the Ottawa Senators alongside Bill McCult and a first-round draft pick in exchange for Alexei Yashin. Yashin was a highly skilled, highly sought-out player. Drafted second overall by the Senators in 1992, Yashin averaged just under a point per game during his 7 seasons in Ottawa, scoring 491 points in 504 games before he was traded to New York. Meanwhile, Chara became one of the most intimidating, highly skilled defenders to ever play in the NHL. Averaging around 25 minutes per game, Chara found his scoring touch with the Senators, scoring 146 points in 299 games played. And who did the Senators end up drafting with the pick they received from the Islanders? Star forward and former captain Jason Spezza. Meanwhile, Alexei Yashin only went on to play 5 more seasons with the Islanders before his contract was bought out. During his time in New York, Yashin's play deteriorated, scoring 290 points in 346 career games. It sucks to say, but he was a huge disappointment for that franchise. The Calgary Flames trade Doug Gilmore. In March of 1988, the Calgary Flames made one of the worst trades in NHL history. At the age of 28, Doug Gilmore was not an emerging young star, but an accomplished NHL player. Having split the first 9 years of his career between the Flames and the St. Louis Blues, Gilmore was highly skilled offensively, having posted point-per-game numbers in his first 650 games played. The most notable player going the other way was Gary Leeman, a 50-goal scorer with the Leafs, who managed only 11 goals in 59 games with the Calgary Flames before he was sent packing for the Montreal Canadiens. Gilmore went on to become one of the most notable leaders in Maple Leaf history. His presence in the locker room was well documented, while his on-ice abilities were also very unique. Gilmore played a gritty style of hockey despite his small stature, yet was able to contribute offensively on a consistent basis. In 7 seasons with the Maple Leafs, Gilmore scored 452 goals in 393 games played. And on top of all of that, he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2011. The Edmonton Oilers trade Mark Messier. In 1991, the Oilers made the second worst trade in their franchise history, sending their heart and soul Mark Messier and future considerations to the New York Rangers in exchange for Louis DeBrusk, Stephen Rice, and the LA Kings' great Bernie Nicholls. At the age of 29 years old, Messier had already won 5 Stanley Cups with the Oilers and certainly had plenty left in the tank. For the Oilers, their return did not come close to matching the production and leadership that Messier gave them. Louis DeBrusk played parts of 6 seasons with the Oilers, yet was never a consistent threat at either end of the ice. Rice split parts of 3 seasons between the Oilers and the Miners, failing to establish himself as an everyday NHL player. And Nicholls was the biggest name returning to the Oilers, however he was traded to the Devils after spending just 2 seasons in Edmonton. Meanwhile, Mark Messier poured in 107 points in his first season as a Ranger. He went on to win his 6th Stanley Cup in the 93-94 season, in which he famously guaranteed a win against the Devils to tie the series before moving on and winning in the finals. Through 422 games in his first stint with the Rangers, Messier scored 515 points, along with winning the Hart Trophy and the Ted Lindsay Award. Capping off an amazing career, Messier was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2007. The Edmonton Oilers trade Wayne Gretzky. In August of 1988, the Edmonton Oilers completed what is likely the most controversial trade in NHL history. They sent Wayne Gretzky to the LA Kings in what turned out to be an 8-player deal. At the age of 26, Gretzky still had plenty of hockey ahead of him, yet due to rumored financial difficulties with the Edmonton Oilers owner Peter Pocklington, the team was forced to trade the best player the NHL has ever seen. In return, the Oilers received 2 players and 3 first-round picks. One of those picks was Jimmy Carson, who posted a 100-point season with the Oilers. Although he only played 2 seasons with the team, Martin Jelna was not a spectacular player by any means and only wound up playing with the Oilers for 4 years. Of the 3 picks the Oilers received, Jason Miller played only 6 games, while Nick Stachahar played only 2 games in the NHL. Martin Ruchinski, on the other hand, turned into a pretty good player. However, he only played 2 games with the Oilers. Now, as many of you know, Gretzky moved to the LA Kings, where he continued to do what he had done his entire career in Edmonton, which was dominate the NHL. In his 539 games with the Kings, Gretzky scored an incredible 918 points. Although he was unable to lead the Kings to a Stanley Cup, Gretzky remained by far the best player in the NHL. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1999, Gretzky scored 2,857 points in 1,487 career games played and won 4 Stanley Cups to show for it. Thanks for watching our videos. Don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button.